Education is the most powerful weapon anyone can use to change the world, Nelson Mandela once said. For most of us, such words of inspiration were integral in influencing our choice of Ashesi. And so some years ago, this class of culturally diverse and unique personalities assembled as a cast for a big soap opera, waiting to hear the word action. Today, I'm humbled to serve as the voice of this cast as we celebrate our curtain call as what has been an incredible stage production. Nana Otinkranchi II, Nananom, President of Ashesi, Dr. Patrick Ewuah, our distinguished guest speaker, luminary university leaders, faculty and staff, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Owusu-Acheaw, and I'm a proud member of Ashesi's class of 2021. It's been quite the ride. After a first week at Ashesi, mainly filled with play, many of us thought we were in for an amusement park romp over our next years at Ashesi. The hard work that lay ahead of us was quickly introduced by our faculty, starting with Joe Mensah's early morning calculus sessions, which sometimes ended in counseling sessions when we saw our quiz scores that sounded like telephone numbers 020, 412, and on and on and on. And so it came to be that over our time here, building out this soap opera, we have got the chance to work with an amazing group of Ashesi faculty and staff, people we will remember as our directors, stage managers, script writers, and many others for the curtain call that we are now celebrating today. As we now replay the soap opera in our minds, I hope to reflect on some key lessons from our time at Ashesi. The first is re-echoed from South African business magnate Vusi Thembekwayo's choose progress over emotions. There were many times during our years here where we wondered whether the rigor we believed we were experiencing was all in our heads. Were our courses really that intense, or were we just imagining that it was? Many of us soon acknowledged that we were not imagining things. We were not imagining that Ashesi had a high-pressure environment, and we were not imagining that there was little tolerance for slacking, even from our own peers. We were not imagining that Mr. Sampers' quizzes could be deadly, and we were not imagining Makosa saying that there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. All this was real. But having accepted these realities, the question was, and so what? We could have chosen to be trapped in an emotional web with our realities, be upset by it all, and refuse to participate, or we could choose to harness the intensity and make meaningful progress in our personal development. Often, moments pass after being caught in this web, and we realize we've set an inverse relationship between time expended on the emotions of our realities and progress achieved. And so, a simple way to get out of this trap was to ask ourselves, do we want progress or emotions? Because you sure cannot have both. Given Commencement 2021, I believe the response is evident. But unlike most famous soap operas, the bonuses we received from our first season were not 6 figures or plush cars. Instead, we received something called grades. By season 2, it was very easy to identify my class as a protagonist of Ashesi soap opera. This season was quite fascinating, intertwined with particles of suspense. In season 2 of this classic, not only had my Ghanaian colleagues gotten used to the fact that our Nigerian friends were never going to stop pronouncing church as church and bus as boss, and our Rwandan and Zimbabwean friends had succeeded in making us believe that some of their prominent delicacies like ugali and satsa were synonymous to top continental dishes. The drama was even more heightened when Kenobi tasked our mechanical and electrical engineers in their thermodynamics class to build a steam engine as their end of semester project. Contrary to the lecturer's expectation, nobody's steam engine worked. Oh, then there was this episode where my MIS colleagues thought everything was a smooth ride to Wonderland in their system and analysis design class until writing their final exams, and only 3 people ended with an A. Now at this point, I would certainly like to thank Dr. Cook, who not only was an economics professor, but held the likes of Poku, Arlen, Leslie Goka, and myself discover our athletic skills given that we always teleported ourselves from Charlotte, Tanko, and Hosanna to lecture hall 116 in just 10 seconds on foot, all in a bid to comply with Dr. Cook's strictly upheld 5-minute rule. Key lesson learned in season 2, relationship building. You see, by season 2, the complexities of Ashesi had made it impossible to be an island. Often, you were a hello away from gaining insight on that assignment or that stubborn code you had to present to Dr. Kosa the following day. By season 2, we had gained full insight in that nurturing strong, like-minded relationships was integral to how we're going to turn up in season 3. At this point, I bet you're all wondering the story plot for season 3. But before we dig in, contrary to the expectations of this unique and culturally diverse cast members, just like season 1, we still had not received any form of emoluments. You know, season 3 was particularly fun for me because it was a phase where, after building strong relationships in the previous season, majority of my colleagues had either started discovering their skill sets or mastering them. To start, there was Sally and Lawson, who strongly fantasized the need for creative content generation and design to unearth stories. Then there was Michael Osei and his crew, inclusive of Barnabas, Samson, Francis, among others, who had managed to convince themselves that aside their active mathematics peer support, they were the new Kevin Hart and Martin Lawrence, evidenced by all the ridiculous things they posted on their WhatsApp status. After having a good laugh from Osei and his team, Ochi, Michael Ansa, Augustus, Abeku, Raul, and Cyril would just blow your mind away with their stunning works of photography and videography. Special shout-outs to Pride and Nkosi as well for their beats and music. Then we had the likes of Mannix and Ransford, who had purposed to relive Romeo and Juliet on campus. You know, season 4 was quite epic. There were highlights where Edem and Elikem's student council leadership had minimized the impact of COVID on student learning through constructive engagement with Ashesi's executive team. And of course, my class was Ashesi's maiden year group to conduct a fully blown capstone project online. Regardless of all these occurrences and our ambitions, my class had most importantly understood the concept of servant leadership, underpinned by the Ubuntu concept, I am because you are. Honestly, Gumado's words sums up the entire journey, and I quote, "Gone are the days of FDs and evaluations, where we were frantic about what grades we would be getting. We are confident that Ashesi has impacted us, and we are going to change every fabric of our society," unquote. Now, please hear me. These are not mere words to excite Valence electrons, because when I look at the engineering dexterities of Isifu, Openi, Lisa Princess, Munya, Lloyd, Hannah, Tamisha, Michael Ajman Prempe, Jean, and juxtapose that with the computer science proficiencies of the Lenrys, Alberts, Banahines, Daniel Nertes, the Goodies, Kwejos, and Godloves, interlaced with the MIS and business acumen of Mariam Benis, Trixie, Foster, Kanitat, Samuel Nunu, Efrie, Yafrema, just to mention a few. All I can say is, wow, Ashesi, you just unleashed a cheat code on the globe. We have metamorphosed into individuals free from political divides and numerous African cultural logic, eager to initiate sustainable global measurable impact. To our committed lecturers and loving parents, who were significant support systems throughout our journey, we are grateful, and it's only a matter of time before you read and hear of the things we've set out to accomplish. Class of 2021, I'll end on this note. On Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021, Dr. Amma reminded me of the well-known economic concept, time value of money. This concept simply propounds that because money can grow in value over time, it is better to receive money today than to receive the same amount of money in the future. And so in practice, if I had 10 Rand today, I have a better chance of growing that money to 20 Rand in a decade's time than I would if I had received 10 Rands in a decade. You see, we live in a world with a strong valuation for intellectual capacity And so to put this in a better perspective, I coined my own term, time value of self. Class of 2021, I've got a question for all of us to reflect on. What exactly are we doing to ourselves to ensure that the proficiencies and intellectual capacity we have today will increase and sustain our impact tomorrow? Yes, we've got the placement office. We finished top of the class. We started that business, and I can go on and on. But do we have strategy to sustain tomorrow what we have begun today? If we got into a time machine now to catch a glimpse of ourselves in the next decade, will we be filled with the smiles beaming on our faces today, or it will all be emotions over progress? We may not have the answers now, but I'm challenging us to think about it and pen down answers when we do get them. After all, leadership is about two things. First, vision, where we are going, and second, strategy, how to get to where we want to go. In all your actions, class of 2021, please never forget the time value of self. It's so important. La vida no es la que uno vivió, sino uno recuerda y como la recuerda para contarla. This Spanish adage means life isn't what one has lived, but what one remembers and how one remembers it in order to retell it. Class of 2021, a decade from now, will our time value of self permit us to remember what we've lived and remember it in order to retell it? Class of 2021, it's been an honor serving as your mouthpiece in sharing this involving soap opera, which did not yield six-figure bonuses, as most of us expected, but yielded resilience, an expansive social capital, and a transformative persona and cognitive constructs. Congratulations! And as you hop off the Zoom or YouTube, however you join this virtual graduation, don't forget, wherever you go, whatever you face, choose progress over emotion. Nana Otin Kranche II, Nananum, distinguished guest speaker, President of Ashesi, Dr. Patrick Iwa, luminary faculty and staff, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and once again, welcome to our big day.